Good morning. Welcome to the show, which is called
Sunday Chat.
That's right. It's another week. Another week has gone by. Yeah. It's been a busy week this week, but more on that later. Coming up on Sunday Chat.
Sunday Chat.
Yeah. Welcome and thank you for tuning in. We've got a list. We've always got a list, haven't we, Paul?
Yeah, we don't have a script, but we do have a list.
No, we were accused of having a script.
Several times. Yes.
It's not scripted, it's all out of the brain, stream of consciousness. What? What's that? Off the cuff? I don't think you can call it off the cuff.
Yeah,
it's not that casual.
Happens.
It does, it happens organically. So yes.
Without insecticides and pesticides. Yeah, organically.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think the insecticides are preserving me.
Oh, dear.
So, first of all, bloody welcome. Welcome, bloody welcome. And thank you for tuning in last night to the live show, Friday night, with me. Every Friday, 6 p.m, Greenwich Mean Time. That's GMT. Soon to be BST.
Yeah.
Because our clocks change on the last Sunday of the month. March.
Yeah.
That's right. And they go forward.
Yeah.
Spring forward to spring, fall back to fall.
I think America is I think it's a different week, isn't it?
I'm sure somebody said they were going back tomorrow.
Right.
Forward tomorrow,
right.
sorry. Yeah. So lovely. Lovely. It is lovely.
I never really understand it. It sort of happens, and they happen at 2 o'clock. Happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, doesn't it? We sort of either jump forward at 2 or we go back to 1 o'clock.
Well, it happens whenever you sort your clocks out.
I know, but I'm talking, what's the word? I can't think of the word.
The moment.
Yeah, the moment is like 2 o'clock where it goes boom or it goes boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do that. So what? Who cares?
Well, there must be a reason.
I don't know.
I suppose the thing is, if it was sort of before 1 o'clock in the morning, it would jump back when it jumps back to the day before, wouldn't it? And that might cause Armageddon.
Maybe
it does. Yes.
Shush now, Paul. I was in the middle of talking and you rudely interrupted me. So yeah, thanks for joining me for the live. Fridays at 6 p.m. It's going to continue because I'm really enjoying it and I think you are too. You know who you are. You can also follow us, remember, on other platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, Richard and Paul, or our private Facebook group, Planet Vegetaria. That's a Facebook group by Richard and Paul since 2017. That's contractual. You can also follow us on our coffee page where you can buy us a coffee. How lovely. Leave us a tip if you like. So, we usually kick off with Richard and Paul's weather report. Paul, what has the weather been like this week here in London town?
In the day, it's actually been gloriously sunny.
Beautiful.
And like 16, possibly even 17 degrees.
They're saying 18 potentially tomorrow.
On Saturday, which is today, or even 18 or 19 degrees tomorrow.
On Sunday.
But then next week we go back to rather cooler weather, more sort of apt for the time of year. But those nighttime temperatures, they drop again to about sort of 2 or 3.
Great.
So
Great.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame.
Welcome to the UK.
I mean, there's all this thing, isn't there, about false spring and how many false springs one gets. So yeah, don't be sowing too many seeds too early. So yeah.
I've noticed a lot of people are sowing seeds.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't there a danger if you're putting them under grow lights of them getting too leggy?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Yeah, I wouldn't put them on. The thing
Because
is, if you put them under grow lights now and you have a later sort of start to your season, then they could get leggy, but also they might be ready to go out before the actual weather is ready for them to go out. So, I saw somebody had got tomatoes going, and the tomatoes were sort of like that big, and they were putting them out. And I thought to myself, I wouldn't do that. And then the person saw me looking at them and said, is this too early? And I went, yeah, I think by about a month. So they put them back into their greenhouse.
I mean, the thing about tomatoes is that actually they grow quite quickly, don't they?
They do, yeah.
They do sprout up. So if you're putting them out in the right conditions, they're just going to go ahead and grow, aren't they?
Absolutely. Same with cucumbers, same with courgettes. Yeah, it's those early ones, the sort of peppers and the celery, and something else that went into my head that's completely gone out that you need to really have got going by now. Aubergine.
But I guess a lot of these vegetables aren't really designed to grow in our climate, are they?
No. I mean, some are. I mean, over the years, things have been bred also to grow in our climate. I mean, Gardener's Delight is very much a tomato
do you do
for
Gardener's
the UK.
Delight?
No, but Vivi does.
Why don't you do Gardener's Delight then?
Because you'd most probably like them.
Well, rather than doing all these things you've never heard of before, why don't you just do the ones that are reliable?
Well, no, they see, he has a go at me.
Well,
last year was a particular bad season for us.
I don't remember any tomatoes.
And there weren't any tomatoes last year. And then the year before, well, there were very few last year. The year before, there weren't any at all, because blight came along and it wiped out all of ours. I'm hoping this year that the people... One of our plot neighbours who's no longer there, their tomatoes got blighted very quickly and they never ever removed them. And therefore the blight would just travel across the path to ours. They're now gone, so I'm hoping that the person who's there...
You've got a greenhouse now, though.
Yeah, but it's only a small greenhouse.
Could you just not do all the tomatoes in the greenhouse?
No, I couldn't. It's not big enough for that. I'm going to do a couple in the poly, and maybe we'll have one or two plants in the greenhouse. So, yeah. Okay. But certainly at the moment, I'm beginning to sow a few things. So lettuce and some brassicas I've sowed. I'm going to be sowing spring onions. So some of the sort of more hardy things are being sown at the moment by me. You can see that in a week at the plot. Tomatoes, cucumbers, courgettes, I'm going to lay off for another few weeks until the end of March, maybe even the beginning of April. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. And for more information on what to grow in the month of March, have a look here. So yeah, beautiful weather. It's starting, as Paul said, to have a little bit of warmth in the air, but we're not going to get used to it because that's going to disappear next week.
Yeah.
But I have got a few windows open.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
And there is a feeling, but that's going to disappear.
For a week.
And we're going to be plunged back into winter.
Well, yeah. We sort of, not plunged. I think we will tiptoe back into winter, let's say.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to be plunged, I can tell you right now.
Oh, so we'll be whinging.
Yeah. Well, hey-ho, that's the way it goes. So also we wanted to say a big thank you to those of you who have followed thegreatgreenbarn.com or on Facebook, and For Earth's Sake, and on Facebook as well. As we asked you to, it's been a really good response.
Yeah, it has. Thank
We've
you.
also had a really good response to the reels on Instagram, which are being shared on Facebook as well, which talk about For Earth's Sake and the shop, and what happens in the shop, and some of the produce that is sold in the shop as well. Even if you'll never get to visiting online is really helpful. Plus, there's some good information that will be coming, and there was also a reel showing the development of the Great Green Barn as well.
Yeah, that was good, that. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, it was.
I was working with some really shaky camera footage, so I managed to string together a short video.
Yeah.
And I think it did well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good.
I just saw a red kite, as in
Did
a bird,
you?
just flying up there then.
Good. That's
it's
not on
lovely
the
seeing
list,
them.
Paul.
Oh, it's not on the
Alright?
list, no.
So just keep to the list, honestly. But even though it is warmer, I'm still wearing a cardigan, scarf, and gloves.
Well, you do all through the summer, don't you, really?
Generally.
Yeah.
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 I like a scarf. Scarves are good to cover up the neck, because the neck is that part of the body which shows aging. Anywho, so today, Saturday, is International Women's Day.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, so happy International Women's Day, women.
Wouldn't it be interesting if actually we didn't have that? You know, if International Women's Day was International Women's Days, and it was 363 days a year, and we had International Men's Day. I think we should sort of switch that around, because I think women are far better at running things than men are. You know, we live in a world which is really dominated and run by men. So many men make decisions that they have no idea about in terms
Stupid
of women
decisions
and
as well.
You know, yeah, I mean lots, particularly of course in some moment. But yeah, you know, we shouldn't have to have an International Women's Day. I'm glad it's there and it's really good. But actually, in this day and age, in 2025, you know, to be having a day celebrating women, we should have 365 days a year doing that.
Well, personally, I think it's good to mark occasions. I think it's good to have a day to focus.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about it, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Which means it's done its job.
Yep. I just wish it had done its job, or human society has done its job so much better, so that equity and equality was actually a standard around the globe for everybody.
Yeah, but it's everything's a journey in the human race, isn't it? Everything is a journey. If you look at progress and history, everything kind of goes the wrong way very often.
As it's doing at the moment,
and then it has to
of
be
course.
drawn back on track by some kind of event or person that is very effective at getting their message across. And then we're pulled off track again, and then we're pulled back on track. So, you know, groups of people influence certain pathways sometimes. You know, there's all sorts of stuff being pulled off track at the moment. How we get back on track is another matter. Goodness knows how. But, you know, that's how life is.
Yeah.
And continues to be. So I think we have to reflect, look back, see where we've come from, see our successes, celebrate the people that have caused those successes along the way. And if they just so happen to be women, then great. If they happen to be men, then great. So actually, I think having individual celebratory days for individuals is also very worthwhile too.
Yep.
To celebrate achievements.
Agree. Yeah.
But I think women have got to have a voice, because
Absolutely.
there's lots of people trying to shut groups of women down for various reasons. Which is ludicrous. So let's just have that day and let's just celebrate it.
Okay.
That's it, as far as I'm concerned, in my humble opinion.
I say let's celebrate International Women's Day every day, because their decisions on the whole are much better than men's.
Well, yeah, I mean, and actually, you know, I've got far more women in my life than men. Far
Absolutely.
more, you know. I don't actually think I have any. Do I have any male friends? Maybe one or two. Maybe literally. Sorry if you're a male friend and I've left you out. But
you haven't been in contact lately.
But I seriously, I think I only have maybe a couple of ex-colleagues, which I could probably call friends, husbands and boyfriends. That's it. I mean, husbands and boyfriends of other people, not me. I don't have multiple husbands.
What about Marcos?
Marcos, his name's changed now, has it? Thought it was Mario. And for those of you who don't know, Mario's my fantasy lover that doesn't exist. Anyway, let's move on. So, Paul, you wanted to mention Guernsey now. For those of you who don't know, Paul is from Guernsey, the Hobbit Island of Guernsey, where everybody's 4'2" and have big hairy feet. Not really. Guernsey's a beautiful island. I love it, and I miss going to Guernsey. But Paul, Guernsey was in the news for a very, very strange reason.
There was a squirrel up a lamppost.
Guernsey doesn't have squirrels.
Guernsey doesn't have squirrels.
No.
Guernsey doesn't have snakes. Guernsey doesn't have foxes.
No.
There are various things Guernsey doesn't have, but one of them very much is squirrels.
And tall men.
So, suddenly this squirrel appeared in Guernsey, and it was front page news, literally. They were slightly worried that, if it's female, it's likely to be pregnant at the moment, and that could have a litter, and then that would
babies.
And I don't think it's been caught yet. They were looking at. They've had sort of various bits of advice about how to catch it and how to repatriate it.
Yeah.
Because they think it came from a boat. Now, did that come from the UK? Did it come from France or somewhere else? We don't know. Need to ask the squirrel, and whichever accent it had, we'd know from there, wouldn't we? So, but we'll keep you informed on Planet Vegetaria about what actually happens. But it's extraordinary, and in Alderney they have a huge amount of albino hedgehogs per percentage of the population. It's really quite odd, but there's a lot of albino hedgehogs in Alderney.
Lovely.
So, it's all these landlocked places that, they lose certain things through sort of hunting or simply because there weren't any when that island became landlocked. And I find it fascinating, totally fascinating.
Yeah, because in years gone by, I think if they'd have seen a squirrel on Guernsey, they'd have thought, that's dinner.
Tasty.
Wouldn't they? Yeah, how lovely. Also, you wanted to mention Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
Because of a remarkable thing that he did.
In a world of leaders and celebrities, some celebrities who are proving to be utterly useless at the moment, there is a programme on, I think it's Channel 4 on Monday, about the actor Michael Sheen, who is Welsh, who bought the debt of thousands of Welsh people for £100,000. He bought £1 million worth of their debt for £100,000 and wiped out the debt of these people, which, is extraordinary. I mean, many of us may not know that debt is traded between companies. If an organisation buys debt, let's say company A has got £1 million worth of debt, it might decide to offload that to company B, who is willing to buy it at a discount, and then company B goes after that money because they're hoping to make a profit on their £100,000. It should be illegal, in my opinion, to trade debt. It's just appalling to benefit from the vulnerability, insecurity, and sometimes plain financial ignorance of people who get themselves into debt through either their own means or no means of their own as well. So, good on Michael Sheen. So do watch that programme on Monday if you're in the UK, Channel 4. And wouldn't it be fabulous if people who were sending rockets into space that were blowing up over the Gulf of Mexico were actually using their money in a good way to buy the debt of millions and millions of people? Wouldn't that be the sensible thing to do? that would be empathetic, and you would then feel part of the human race.
Well, poverty and debt could be wiped out if all the billionaires got together. It could all be
Absolutely.
wiped out.
Absolutely.
Without doubt.
Yeah.
Do the figures yourselves. Look at the number of people on the planet. Look at the amount of money that all the billionaires have got between themselves. All debt and poverty could be wiped out.
Absolutely. So, yeah, there we are. Tax the rich.
Yeah, all right. It's time for Word of the Week.
Word of the week.
Brought to us
I feel it should have a little sort of like Word of the week type of thing.
I'll give you a little type of thing in a minute if you're not careful. Brought to us by a word for every day of the year by Stephen Poole, gifted to me by Vivi Gregory of What Vivi Did Next. So, today's broadcast date is the 9th of March. What intellectual joy awaits me?
Yay! Hopefully one that I will understand.
Okay, well, it's easy to pronounce. Patzer. Patzer. P-A-T-Z-E-R. Simples.
Patzer.
Patzer. On this day in 1943, Bobby Fischer was born, and a mere 15 years later, he had become the youngest ever US chess champion. Interviewed at the age of 18, he was increasingly confident of his abilities, saying, "When I meet those Russian patzers, I'll put them in their place." Patzer is not exactly a compliment, being chess slang for a bad player. It is a straight borrowing from the 19th century German Patzer, meaning an incorrigible bungler. To be fair to Fischer, he did eventually steamroll the Russians and become world champion himself. In the meantime, Patzer is such a fine and satisfying word that it would be a shame to limit its use to the 64 squares of the chessboard. Are we not all surrounded by patzers every day?
Yeah, we certainly are at the moment, aren't we?
That was easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, well done, Richard.
I wish if only all the words would be that simple and easy to read.
Aww.
How lovely.
Oh, poor you.
Which
poor
brings
you.
it, yes, I can't go on. Oh, my reading trauma. My intellectual trauma.
I noticed there weren't any long words.
My intellectual trauma
Journey.
So there we are. That brings us neatly on to the final segment of the show. We're keeping it short this week because we got shit to do. So, what have we watched on television this week, Paul? We watched the pot off, as I like to call it.
We did.
The pottery throwdown. What were they making this week? I can't really remember.
It was something big, wasn't it?
The pot.
It was, they were sort of slab building, and it was something big, and the person who won...
Dropped.
It was a fireplace. Yeah, it was a hellmouth fireplace. That's what... I'd never heard of this at all. And it's actually something that goes back to like the 800s. It's not been popular for rather a long time. I understand why.
I didn't really think they were particularly attractive. I mean, who wants their fireplace to look like the hellmouth?
Absolutely. But the one who won did do this fireplace that looked like cardboard boxes, and it was amazing. It really was amazing, and he deservedly won. Definitely.
I think I fell asleep.
You fell asleep.
Yeah,
yes.
I think I did. But we did watch a few very interesting documentaries this week, Paul, didn't we? Yes, we did. One entitled The Great Fog of 1952, which was on Channel 5, and that was really interesting. So this is about the massive smog that formed in 1952, which caused a lot of deaths. And it was caused by a high-pressure dome over London, which kept the air very still and stagnant. Foggy conditions combined with the cold, and of course in those days, everybody had multiple coal fires
Yeah.
in their homes.
I mean, some homes, some sort of big standard homes, would have like eight fireplaces.
Well, there would have
in
been
them.
4 in
And
this
sort of
house.
4 in this house.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 in this house. But also people were in tenement flats as well. So each of them would have had 2 fireplaces at least. So, you know, that's 8 in each stack of houses. So
And of course,
a lot of smoke going up.
Electricity generation in those days was done by coal-fired power stations.
Of which there were, I think they said 8 in London at that point.
Including the famous Battersea Power Station, which is now a leisure complex.
And the pressure, the high pressure was so high that when the smoke was coming out of the Battersea Power Station, instead of the smoke going up, it was actually pushing down onto the ground.
It wasn't rising and dispersing how
No.
it normally would in normal conditions. And it lasted for days and killed thousands of people.
Thousands of people, yeah. I think it was in December, wasn't it? It was early December. And it lasted for sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 days,
And
something
then
like that.
cleared within a day
Yeah.
back to normal conditions.
Because that high pressure lifted, that allowed
Very
air to
rapidly.
move, and it just blew everything away.
Very rapidly. So that was really interesting. Channel 5.
It was really interesting, and it was also the Queen had just been coronated earlier that year. It was her sort of first year in power, and her and various other sort of important people were moved out of London to be in the countryside where this fog wasn't there.
And of course, the poor people were left to die.
Yeah, but the interesting thing, when you look at the map of London, the area that was covered, we're 12 miles from the centre of London, and we were well covered in this smog as well. So, it was literally people were dying on the streets. You know, they were collapsing and dying on the streets.
And people watch the programme.
Oh yeah, watch the programme. It's fascinating.
It was really good, really interesting. So we continue with Amandaland.
Which this week, that's BBC One. This week, I thought the episode was almost perfect writing. And the character of Johannes, who's Amanda's boyfriend currently, this episode is just his episode. It is hilarious. And it's just hilarious. Do watch it. It's perfect. I've watched it twice.
You're right.
Yeah.
God. So we watched 3 programmes on Sky Arts. The first one, the National Theatre production of Frankenstein.
Which I'd really been looking forward to. I saw that on Sky Arts there were going to be various National Theatre productions. National Theatre of the UK, obviously, or England.
Yeah, all right.
I've been looking forward to it.
Well, we were a little bit disappointed.
Hugely.
It was a little bit, in terms of its look, its design, and certainly its lighting was incredible. But it was, watch it yourself, make your own mind up. We had to switch off because it didn't feel as though it was going anywhere.
No.
It might have been different to have been physically in the audience, I don't know. And the way it was filmed missed certain points that would have theatrically been quite spectacular.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
And it seemed to be made up of lots of vignettes to me. You know, it was one of those that sort of popped from bit to bit to bit to bit to bit to bit.
Okay.
So,
Let people make their mind up. Don't give them everything.
I won't say they won't like it.
We watched another programme on Sky Arts called The United Kingdom of Pop. We've watched part 1. We've got part 2 to watch.
Well, we haven't because we can't find it.
Oh, can't find it. So you've ruined that as well, Paul. Thank you.
I think this was about 2018, wasn't it?
And it was a history of pop music in the UK. So that was really interesting. We also watched Dickens' Phantoms and Fiction.
Yeah.
So this is all about the phantoms within the Dickens story. stories. And that was also really interesting. Did I fall asleep to
You
that?
did, yes.
Yes, I did, but I saw a good chunk and it was quite fun.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But I'm tired at that time of night. It's time for bed. I can't go on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it for TV this week. Lovely.
Yeah. I also watched something else, which I can't remember, so we'll forget that.
Great. Great. Thank you for that, Paul.
It was quite a good Welsh sort of thriller drama, but I can't remember the title.
Oh, well.
But if you go onto the BBC iPlayer, you'll see it there. The One That Got Away. That's what it was called. The One That Got Away. Yeah, it was quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky that you get away with what you get away with, I tell ya. Anywho, it's time to say goodbye because it's almost time to have lunch.
It is. I've made some soup. I've made I've started making minestrone soup. It's almost made. I'm going to add some orzo to it, and we're going to have that. And
delicious. Orzo is like a pasta, isn't it?
It's not like a pasta. It is a pasta.
It's a tiny little pasta, like a little tiny noodle.
It's like it's like a grain of rice. It's like a fat grain of rice, but it's pasta. Yeah.
Like couscous. Couscous is a pasta.
Couscous is a pasta. Yeah. Well, not technically, and reality.
Some people think it's a grain. It's not a grain.
No.
It's been made by an old woman who rubbed all the grains between her thighs.
Actually, I think couscous for her sake, I think on the scales, I think you need to go into grains to weigh it up.
To be changed.
I think you do. I think I had this conversation when we opened the shop.
Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Goodbye. You can open it to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you very soon for more fun and frolics, cookery and lovely things.
Bye.
Bye.
And your blogs. And your vlogs, yeah. And my blog. The link's below on my blog, yeah. Bananas.
Tits and bombs.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Watch all the adverts.
They're all gone.